unlucky old man. Let go! That all you got?
Why did a man who followed such strict rules in life end up destroying himself? Don't you think there's something about Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, that just sticks with you? I always had a sense that he was carrying things so heavy, but he couldn't speak them out loud.
Okay, great. You're the strong, silent type. Hooray for you. But in case you missed it, your friends from Philly back there, they think you killed 2 cops.
Yep.
I'm Dr. Patrick Kingsep, clinical psychologist, and today we're taking a closer look at Mike Ehrmantraut and the secrets he took to his grave. Mike kept his past under lock and key, his time in Vietnam, his years as a cop in Philadelphia, and a wife who just seemed to be completely absent. You see his skill in that Better Call Saul moment in season 5, taking out those guys with almost unnatural precision, like he trained for covert missions. But war shapes you in ways that go further than just a steady aim. It's about facing death every day, making impossible decisions, and learning to bury your fear and guilt just to keep going.
One day you're gonna wake up, eat your breakfast, brush your teeth, go about your business. And sooner or later, you're gonna realize you haven't thought about it. None of it.
That's where Mike's stoic, walled-off nature comes from. But it came with a heavy weight, a kind of survivor's guilt that told him that he didn't deserve to come home and live a normal life. So what exactly did he go through over there? We can only guess. Then there's Philadelphia, when he was a cop in the 70s, a time when that city's police force was drowning in corruption.
That wasn't dirty. I was. Everyone was in that precinct.
There were shady deals and a system that was likely built on bribes and betrayal, where doing the right thing could get you thrown out, or worse.
You know what a cop fears most? More than getting shot, more than anything. Prison. Getting locked up with everybody you put away.
That kind of place doesn't just break your faith in justice, it erodes who you are. Mike walked away believing he could never be a good man, and that's why he leaned into being a fixer, like he was meant for the shadows. So how did he get tangled up in that world?
March 17th, 1984. Day I took my first bribe.
And his wife, she's one of the biggest unknowns. Her absence is a wound you can feel in Mike, and how he keeps almost everyone at a distance, except for his granddaughter Kaylee, who's like his one safe place to care. Losing his wife, whatever happened, taught him that letting people in is a risk he can't take.
What is it with you guys?
Gus kept cameras on us at the lab, at the laundry, God only knows where else. And of course, when I say us, I'm including you.
Mike never sat down and spelled out his code, but it was in every decision he made. Protect civilians, keep your word, violence only when no other options remained. Loyalty wasn't assumed, it had to be earned, and sometimes even that wasn't enough.
Loyalty goes both ways. Varga's done everything you asked him.
He wasn't given a choice.
Maybe so, but he played a tough game, and he played it on the square. The kid deserves your respect.
But these rules weren't made because he believed in a fair world. They were formed because he believed the world wasn't fair. Now, this can be a kind of compensatory control, where the unpredictable becomes unbearable.
It was them or it was us, cut and dried.
People build strict rules not just to shape the future, but to protect themselves from repeating the past. For Mike, they became an emotional safety net. Each rule allowed him to feel that while he couldn't undo what had happened to Matt, his son, or the corruption he'd accepted, he could stop the collapse from spreading any further.
That's what I would have done if I were you.
Now, this is also where his version of Stoicism came in. Not the kind where you practice prudence and fortitude and temperance and justice. in daily life. Mike's stoicism was survival. Control what you can, accept what you can't, bear your own burden silently.
We all make our choices. And those choices, they put us on a road. Sometimes those choices seem small, but they put you on the road.
But the double edge of stoicism and of rigid rules and codes in general is that they resist change. The tighter you hold on to them, the more likely they are to break under pressure. And that's something people rarely realize about their own rules.
And I just think with the right management...
You know, years ago I bought a Betamax. Good product, top of the line. Experts said it was better than a VHS. Turned out to be a complete waste of time and money. Let it go.
They're not just moral guidelines. They're shields. And when the shields fail, it's not just the rule that breaks. It's the beliefs that you can keep yourself and the people you care about safe.
I made him lesser. I made him like me. And the bastards killed him anyway.
Mike's rules gave him structure, but they also locked him into a path where bending them became the final, unavoidable betrayal he'd spent his life trying to protect.
For what it's worth, I believe him. He said he'd be gone 4 days. He's not going to any cops. This is about him wanting to see his wife, plain and simple.
For all his rules, there was a moment when Mike broke them, when he agreed to kill Werner Ziegler.
I'll take care of it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Werner wasn't a threat to the public. He was just a man who got in over his head.
Is there no other way, truly? I will walk out there to get a better look.
But Gus gave the order, and Mike dutifully carried it out. And if someone had to cross the line, Mike wanted it to be him. This can be a form of cognitive dissonance collapse, when the tension between your values and your actions become too great, and you finally surrender your values to feel a sense of peace. By breaking his own code, he confirmed what he feared, that even the rules that he lived by could fail him. That was a dangerous realization.
If they killed Maddie, who killed them? What happened?
You know what happened. The question is, can you live with it?
Now, Mike never spoke about justice or fairness the way someone else might, but his actions made it clear. He stayed in the game because in his mind it was the last place where fairness, on his terms, still existed.
Any reflection on me will not be greeted with kindness.
All right.
Loyalty was repaid. Betrayal, like it had consequences. Weakness wasn't mocked or exploited without an answer. Actions had clear outcomes. Even in a world full of liars and killers, there were rules he could enforce. Rules that made sense. That's why he cared about Nacho's survival.
Nacho Varga. He wants out. He's done everything we ask. He held up his end. I think it's time we cut him loose.
I see no reason to give up an asset.
Why he risked himself to protect Jesse. Why he ensured Werner's death was handled with dignity, even after an unforgivable mistake.
Werner? Mr. Ziegler? Michael? Is that you?
He wasn't just doing jobs. He was stepping in wherever he could make the consequences match the actions. And this can be called moral compensation, when someone tries to restore balance in one part of life to make up for where they believe the scales have tipped too far in the other. For Mike, the job became the only place he could still apply consequences that felt fair. Walking away wouldn't just have meant leaving work behind. It would have meant surrendering the last place where he could put things right, even if only in small, brutal ways. So in the end, the biggest secret Mike kept, it wasn't about what he'd done. It was the quiet decision he made long before his final moment. He chose not to escape.
I've got a problem I think you can help me with.
I've got cash I can't spend. If anything happens to me, my family will never see it.
He chose to stay in the line of fire. Every choice continuing to work for dangerous men, taking jobs that risked everything, pushing people away who cared, which led him to an ending he could have avoided. But I believe he accepted that ending, not out of recklessness or bravado or even ego. Mike's life narrative was so closely tied to loss and punishment that any ending that didn't fit with this felt just so wrong.
And then I'd go forward. There's some people I'd like to check on in 5 or 10 years. Make sure they're doing okay.
Mike didn't chase death, but when it came, he didn't resist it either. And when Walt shot him, there was no protest, no plea, just the same quiet resignation he'd carried for years. The reason Mike still feels like a mystery isn't because he was secretive. It's because he chose to protect the one thing he had left, his autonomy. That's why, even after all this time, we still try to piece him together. And maybe that's exactly how he wanted it. The more you think about Mike, the more you realize understanding him was never really the point. He wasn't looking to be understood. He was trying to carry his weight alone. And maybe that's what made him unforgettable and why most people can quietly relate to him